Hello everyone. Today we have a super juicy topic for today. This is going to be absolutely life-changing, this video. It's about The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And it's about the one problem that holds you back and causes you self-sabotage. So here I'm doing sort of like a book review, kind of taking the main points from the book and making it short, but it's really a tiny book and you should read it. It's amazing. So let's get right into it. So, the one problem that holds you back. Most of us resist change and do more of what's obviously not working, and we'd be defensive about it. But we need to be open to learning. It's a skill we practice, and like a master pianist, and it's a skill like that, like how a pianist, yes, practice it. It's a skill that we practice this also to transcend our upper limit problem. And that's the only problem we need to solve. Solving it does more than just increase your net worth, but it actually quantum leaps you in love and everything. So, the author, he discovered this upper limit problem by this story. He was having a wonderful day with friends and all happy and relaxed, and then he found himself worrying about his daughter. The joy was gone and he tensed up. And he was like, how did I go from feeling good to manufacturing a stream of painful images in the next? And the reason was because he was feeling good. A part of us is afraid of that. When he had reached his upper limit of how much happy and good feelings he could handle, he created bad ones to return to familiarity. Does this sound familiar? We do this to ourselves like all the time. The upper limit problem is we eat well and exercise, and then we binge. It's the same thing. Or we have a great time and love and connection with a partner, and then we criticize and argue. And the pattern is simple. You enjoy a period of feeling good, and then we mess it up. See, it's because only recently have we as a species been able to feel good and be well-to-do than ever. And the question now is, can I feel good and be happy all the time? The book will show you how to do just that. So there's these 3 questions you must be willing to ask yourself and give yourself an honest answer. Number 1, am I willing to increase the amount of time every day that I feel good inside? Write it down. Number 2, am I willing to increase the amount of time my whole life goes well? Again, write your answer down. And number 3, am I willing to feel good and have my life go well all the time? And at first glance, you might think, well, duh, who wouldn't say yes? But the thing is humans aren't used to happiness. And being willing to feel good and have things go well is not a safety hazard. We think it is, but it's not. So I'll repeat it. Being willing to feel good and have things go well is not a safety hazard. See, saying yes to these questions is a courageous and radical act, seeing all the evidence of how life is hard and, in a struggle. Going into your depths, where your deeply held beliefs are held, is a radical act. If we think it's remotely possible to be happy all the time, we owe it to ourselves to see how many of us can do it. I'll say that again. If we think it's remotely possible to be happy all the time, we owe it to ourselves to see how many of us can do it. Your true home is not in your zone of excellence, things you're good at. It's in your zone of genius. Being happy all the time is possible. He's proven it, the author says. So Ray has proved it. But will you allow it to be possible for you? Will you allow it to be possible for you? Your ego has to die. to live there, and it usually won't die quietly, but it's worth it. So what exactly is this upper limit problem? Well, and examples are, if you make a spectacular leap in one area of your life, such as money, your upper limit problem quickly enshrouds you in a wet wool blanket of guilt that keeps you from enjoying your new abundance. Guilt is a way our minds have of applying a painful grip on the conduit, through which our good feelings flow. The upper limit problem starts as programming in our childhood, like since we were 6 years old and before. See, if we outshined our sibling and saw the smile leave our mother's face, we learned to pull back, even as an adult, where there's no mother's feelings to protect. So your capacity expands in small increments each time you consciously let yourself enjoy the money you have, the love you already feel, and the creativity you are expressing in the world. As that capacity for enjoyment expands, so does your financial abundance, the love you feel, and the creativity you express. Take a moment to appreciate how radical this idea is. Most people think they will finally feel good when they have more money, the better relationship, and more creativity. And I understand because I thought that way. But how powerful it is, though, when we finally see that we have it all backwards. All of us can find and nurture the capacity for positive feelings now, rather than waiting for some event in the future. So, right now, find a place in your life to feel good about, and think of it for a few seconds and let that feeling expand. Do this often. As you get more skilled with this practice, you discover that your positive feelings, abundance, love, and creativity all begin to expand. The outer aspects of your life change to match the expanding good feelings inside of you. See, you are not flawed or unlucky or anything of that sort. It's just the upper limit problem. I'll say that again. You are not flawed or unlucky or anything of that sort. It's just the upper limit problem. It's just our human nature. See, because we're perfect in the spiritual part, but we need to work on keeping our human side under control. And this is a huge way of doing it. See, as you experience more happiness, you may trip your upper limit problem switch. Deep inside, you'll hear a voice that says, "You can't possibly feel this good." And then you do something to bring you back to your comfort zone. And this all happens subconsciously. You see this with lottery winners, for example. They're not used to that much wealth, so immediately they lose it and are usually, most of the time, even worse off than before. We can eliminate the tendency to trip that switch and experience more and more happiness and wealth and love without the compulsion to sabotage. So this is possible. So going on to the next part, it says we live in 4 main zones: the zone of incompetence, the zone of competence, the zone of excellence, and the zone of genius. So the zone of incompetence is the things that we're not good at. Delegate or hire those things out. Your life is too short to spend on those things. The next zone is the zone of competence. You do them well, but others do them too. So here people get the disease of unfulfillment, like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, and I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry, and like other diseases. The third zone is the zone of excellence, the things that you do very well, and it keeps you busy from your zone of genius. That's the 4th zone. The zone of genius is the set of activities you are uniquely suited to. It's the set of things that you're uniquely suited to do, like your special gifts and strengths. It's important to live in the zone of genius to avoid all kinds of diseases from our body trying to just yell at us to break out of that, or just wasting our lives. I mean, our lives are only such a breath on this earth and how long it's been here. So then in the book, he discusses the 4 pillars of childhood taken beliefs that sabotage us. Like if we believed that we are a burden because we felt that from our parents, etc. So I'd highly recommend you to go through the book because he has those inner work prompts to work through. And I won't discuss it here because I'm not trying to copy his book. But those are extremely amazing for figuring that out. Okay, so another part. So the signs of the upper limit problem is worry, blame, and criticism. So, how to get out of the worry trap, which you think is holding the world up, but it isn't. So number 1, notice yourself worrying. Number 2, let go of the worry thoughts, shifting your focus away from them. Number 3, I wonder what positive new thing is trying to come into being. Number 4, you usually get a body feeling, not a thought or idea, of where that positive new thing is trying to come through. Like, do you feel your heart expanding? Like that type of thing. Number 5, open your focus to feel that body feeling deeply. Let yourself feel it. Don't glaze over it. Number 6, let yourself feel it for as deeply as long as you can. And number 7, later, you often get an idea of the positive thing that was trying to come through. So write these things down, like take notes, and actually notice yourself worrying, because it takes up so much energy to worry, and that's why we have no energy or can't sleep and all this stuff. It's already not good to worry, like for those of us who like believe in God, or in the Bible it says that if we worry, we're not trusting God. And that's kind of like an offense, you know? And don't worry, I worry a ton too, so this is preaching at myself more than anyone. But this still is absolutely life-changing. So this is the 7 steps of how to get out of the worry trap. We just went over that. So no worrying, no criticizing, and no blaming you or others. I'll say that again. No worrying, no criticizing and blaming you or others. And no deflecting. All right, so deflecting is like when someone gives you a compliment and you're like, oh, this old dress, or your husband or someone gives you a compliment and you immediately just like ignore it or talk about something else. Start noticing yourself doing that. And instead, when someone compliments you, just accept it, because people feel like you're ripping them from something when they give you a compliment and you just throw it back at them or, disregard it. And it doesn't feel good to us either when we try to give someone a compliment like, oh, you're so beautiful. And she's like, no, I'm not. And we've all done this, but it's no fun, right? So no deflecting. Just say, accept it, feel your heart expand, accept it, and be like, thank you. It's super simple, but just keep an eye on those things. So no more worrying, no criticizing and blaming you or others, and no more deflecting. Also, no more arguing. And because, arguing is what usually happens after something great happens, and then we get in a huge fight with our partner. Or a couple can be experiencing like so much like love and connection, and then all of a sudden they'll have this huge fight afterwards. And it's because of this upper limit problem. So, don't argue either. There's better ways of getting through things. And it's just our upper limit problem coming through and keeping us stuck. And also, illness and getting sick is an upper limit problem. So a lot of times when we're sick or something, it's not that it just happened. Like, there are things that have brought it to come. And there are ways that you can get out of it and get better too. Like, anything is possible. But just be aware of the getting sick part, because like some people, they'll have like this huge presentation coming up and then they'll get like bronchitis or something. And that's an upper limit problem because they were just too scared to do it or were afraid. So it's not anything else. Anyhow, read the book of exactly how he explains this. It is hilarious and it's so true. It's way better than I can explain it. Or I would be copying him. Okay. So no worrying, criticizing, and blaming you or others, and no more deflecting. No more arguing, and keep an eye on you getting ill or getting sick. Because a lot of times when you get a new breakthrough in your life, you'll get sick as a way to just bring you down from it. But don't feel overwhelmed by all of this. All right? I know I'm totally like that. I will get so overwhelmed. But this is stuff to just help your life, and it's super simple. Just don't worry. Don't criticize or blame others and yourself. And just open yourself up to just keeping more happiness in your life. So don't feel overwhelmed. Adopt an attitude of wonder instead of blame. Be lighthearted about noticing your upper limit behaviors, and that will keep your progress faster than if you criticize yourself for every little thing. Be lighthearted about noticing your upper limit behaviors will help you progress faster than if you criticize yourself for every little thing. I need to tell that to myself 10 times. See, because when you maintain an attitude of cheerful wonder and keen interest towards, your faults and flaws, you see them dissolve much more rapidly than when you give yourself a hard time about them. And if you're willing to adopt a playful attitude towards yourself and your shortcomings, you can make extraordinary, rapid progress. It's easier to chuckle over things than to fret about them, and chuckling is much more fun for you and for the people around you. So say this sentence in your mind as often as you like. Say it in the morning, in the afternoon, in the dinner. Have it as an alarm on your phone 25 times a day. I'm serious. Have sticky notes in your car, at your desk. Because it's so easy for us to just read a book or listen to this and completely forget and not get any better just because we revert back to our old habits. So this sentence is what allowed him, the author, to actually help overcome his upper limit problem. And he talks about how absolutely life-changing this sentence is. But just take my word for it, or read the book, and just say it to yourself. So, here's the attitude I'd like you to embody. I commit to discovering my upper limit behaviors and to having a good time while I'm learning about them. Okay, wait for just a second, pause. I made a mistake. That's not the one you're supposed to say 25 times a day. But in the beginning, it might be good too, so that you keep a good attitude about it. But the one that I was meaning to talk about, that one's coming up in just a few minutes. Anyhow, so open up in awe and wonder, asking yourself, what is your zone of geniuses? So it may not come right away, but wonder about it. So see, living in our zone of genius and not allowing our upper limit problems to keep pulling us down is what's going to help give us the happiness or the joy that we know we should be having. So commit to living in your zone of genius. So say to yourself, I commit to living in my zone of genius now and forever. So this is how to find your zone of genius. So write out these questions and your answers to them, all right? So, number 1, what do I love most to do? You love it so much you can do it for long stretches of time without getting tired or bored. Pause the video and write that down. Genius question number 2. What work do I do that doesn't seem like work? I can do it all day. Number 3. In my work, what produces the highest rate of abundance and satisfaction to amount of time spent? So for him, it's thinking and meditating. So he does that for an hour every day before anything else. Because if it's most important, do it first, not after the emails and work and cleaning and taking care of others, okay? That's an important one. And number 4, what is my unique ability? There's a special skill that you or I am gifted with. This unique ability, fully realized and put to work, can provide enormous benefits to me and any organization I serve. So, Write those down, figure out what your zone of genius is, and commit to living in it. And finally, what is the upper limit problem? Because, it's kind of abstract, right? Especially when you first talked about it. But the upper limit problem is super simple. It's like this. If you don't know it's okay to feel good and have a good time, you'll mess it up when things are going well. Living in your zone of genius is like a constant spiral going up, whereas your zone of excellence, etc., are boxes that you feel unfulfilled in. So navigating the upward reaches of a spiral is different from navigating a box. It uses a different skill, which the author calls, a central guiding intention. That is a program I want to install at the center of your being, same with as eating when you're hungry. So now this is the one that I was talking about earlier. And this was a light bulb moment for me. The art of meditation is in the way you let go of wander thoughts and return to the mantra or the quietness in your mind without giving yourself a hard time and criticizing yourself. See, as your practice matures, you realize that criticizing yourself for your mind's wandering is just another thought. So you just let go of it and return to the mantra. And gradually this habit of self-criticism disappears and is replaced by an open-hearted feeling of self-acceptance. Your key to integrating your ultimate success mantra smoothly and easily is to be gentle and open-hearted with yourself. And if you use this ultimate success mantra as instructed, your life will gradually conform to the comprehensive intention contained within it. So here it is. And this is the one I was talking about earlier. And this is the one you want to have on 25 alarms throughout the day. So, I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. So say this under your breath and repeat it. And this is a product of more than 3 decades of refinement, the author says, and it works wonders with thousands of people. It tells the key instructions to your conscious and subconscious to expand, not contract. And it becomes extremely easy and exhilarating, like riding a bike. It directly counters the upper limit problem, which is based on instructions from long ago to contract or hold yourself in check. So say it as you sit quietly and feel it and incorporate it into your day-to-day. It's very powerful, so a little goes a long way. You don't need to be a monk or be in solitude just to incorporate it in your, So just incorporate it in your thoughts from time to time and watch the magic. So expect and encourage back talk from your mind like you're not inspiring anyone. We know what our minds do. But once it's firmly established, it's magic. So put on a post-it note where you look, like on your computer, in your car, at your desk. And so really do this. I know it seems super simple and how could it work? But it's the simple things that the most life-changing things are held in. All right, so next part, the enlightened no. Say no to anything that is not in your zone of genius. It even has an inspirational effect to the people you're turning down. The author says that he wrote an email of why he was turning this company down. And he said, I've been really benefiting in recent years from focusing on activities that are in what I call my zone of genius. These are things I'm uniquely suited to do and which serve my highest purposes for my life. While I like the people I've met from your company, and while I think the devices are useful, I'm going to turn down your generous offer because it doesn't fit in the sweet spot of my zone of genius. End quote. And so an hour after he wrote that email and sent it, the CEO called and said what a discussion came out of it and how inspirational it was. So, never underestimate your saying no. All right, so now we're to the last part of the book. And it's the most amazing part, I feel like. It's about living in Einstein time. And for me, I didn't quite understand it at first, so I had to read it a couple times. And you may want to watch this video a couple times and get the book. But this is just a quick way to have the whole book in just a few minutes instead of like taking a few hours. But anyhow, here we go. Living in Einstein time. Living in harmony with time is one of the most important and gratifying things in life. It allows you to get twice as much done in half as much time, instead of half as much done in twice the amount of time, like most people live in. And not only will you feel less stressed, but you'll also have time for creative thinking. And this shift happens when you realize this truth. You are where time comes from. And this works so well it seems like magic, but it is based on solid science by Einstein physics. So since you are where time comes from, you can create as much of it as you want. You're in charge. It does sound strange. And the author says it does sound strange because he'd spend most of his life hurried and in a rush, like not enough time, or bored, too much time. So he has this story in the book of a lawyer who he was late going to a business meeting and he kept looking at his watch and was like, I'm just going to be like so late for this and the bus is going so slow. And he was just so afraid he was going to be late for this important business meeting. But this lawyer, he realized that he had been talking to the author and he had learned about this. So he's like, you know what? He let the urge pass to look at his watch. He just relaxed. He just told himself he'll get there in time and completely stopped worrying. And guess what? He walked in and no one was there. He got there early. And this is because he realized, I'll just make as much time as I need, and relaxed. So I invite you to use Einstein time and put away old time management systems out the door, because in reality, you haven't been using them anyway, including me. So that's why this is so, it's mind-boggling actually. It's so simple. Newtonian time assumes that there's a scarcity of time, which leads to a feeling of urgency inside of us. It's the same as if we thought food was scarce. The Newtonian view is not how time actually works, though. Most of us view time as out there, which puts pressure on us in here. It sounds crazy, but try telling that to a patient in a cardiologist office. Meyer Friedman, MD, painted out a typical heart patient, have a marked sense of time urgency. They're in a race with time, and their hearts show the wear and tear of it. So Einstein time is actually a lifesaver. An example is Einstein's explanation of relativity, which says an hour with your beloved feels like a minute, but a minute on a hot stove feels like an hour. End quote. See, when you're on a hot stove, your consciousness is contracting on yourself. The more you cringe from pain, the slower time gets. An hour doing something you love or with your love, your awareness flows outwards and you relax into the space around you as your consciousness expands into space and time disappears. The clock seems to leap forward in spurts. When you're willing to occupy all space, time simply disappears. You're everywhere all at once. There's no place to get to, and everywhere you are is at exactly the right time. When we switch on Einstein time, we take charge of the time we have. See? So, quote, since I am the producer of time, I can make as much of it as I need. End quote. So say that to yourself. Since I'm the producer of time, I can make as much of it as I need. And I know this sounds totally lulu to us, but it's true. Do whatever it takes to get yourself in harmony with that reality that you are the source of time. And once you're convinced, start acting like it's true by stopping the complaining about time. Like, I don't have enough time, or no, I don't have time to do that. No, actually make priorities for your life, If you don't want to do something, you don't have to say you don't have enough time. Just say no. And so now, if all of this about Einstein time sounds elusive, so did driving and many other things in our life. So many of us and others complain about time. Like, I wish I had more time to stop and chat, but I'm in a hurry. Or where did the time go? Or there simply aren't enough hours in a day. Or if only I'd gotten another hour of sleep. Or I have to get to the bank. Or I don't have time to do that right now. But instead of saying all of the above, just say no, or you want to finish something else. Notice what time pressure feels like in your body. This is an important one. It's like when you're in a hurry or you feel you don't have enough time. What does that feel like? Be conscious about that. So like the author feels a pushing forward in his chest and contracting and pressure in his heart and his neck, and he just feels strained. And that's how I experience being behind on time as well, but my stomach also flips. So feel what that is for you so that you know. And make plenty of time to master these principles. You'll feel a weight lifted off of you. All that pressure is no longer needed, which gives you an extreme amount of energy and time. Okay, now we're on to the last part, which is about relationships. And this is super important because, we don't get taught these days. So 80% of marriages are 1, going through the motions with no passion. 2, business partners or friends. Or 3, arguing to spice it up because of their upper limit problem. So projection occurs when you attribute to others something that's true for you inside yourself. So both people must drop projection and see that they are 100% creators of their reality. So you could be like, he dominates me, when actually it's, I haven't learned to be in my full power and take up my space in the world. So I attract men who dominate and control me. Remember, we've been in survival all of our Homo sapien days, and there's no quicker way to bring out our inner Neanderthal than getting in a loving relationship. When we open to more love and closeness and happiness, we trip our upper limit switch, making us want to come down to a more familiar level. To be successful in relationships, these are extremely, extremely important. Put them into practice. 1, take plenty of time for yourself away from your partner. Humans need time for just them and time with someone else. So balance that out. 2, put a priority on speaking the microscopic truth, like I'm scared or I'm angry, instead of just being silent and being closed off, or my stomach contracted when you said that. See, communications about desires and feelings and such creates intimacy. So instead of just being closed off and shutting down, talk about what you're feeling. And 3, feel the emotions. So don't say to someone, don't cry. Don't say that to people because they need to get it out. That's energy that needs to be released. Feel sad till you don't anymore. Give yourself the ability to just process that emotion. And we do that by going through it, by feeling it and then letting it go, instead of bottling it up, which makes it want to explode even more. Because concealing feelings causes problems. 4, give touch. Just regular touch. Nothing, too much in one direction, Just like as friendly. A hug, a hand squeeze, a touch on the shoulder. That communicates love in a way nothing else can. 5, after having high amounts of fun, happiness, and pleasure, instead of getting into an argument to ground yourself, instead ground yourself on this earthly plane in other ways, like taking a walk or going through your closet, going through your stuff. things like that. Number 6, cultivate a friendship with at least 3 others with whom you can form a no upper limit, group pretty much, so that you can catch each other. Like you can call each other out of getting sick or worrying, etc. See, relationships is the ultimate spiritual path because it constantly presents us with the very situations we're most prone to shun and reject. For that reason, above all, a relationship is the place where our spirituality most visibly comes to light. You can tell more about a person's spirituality, from the way that they treat their partner than you ever could from tallying their church attendance. So that's a really deep thing, I thought. And so just, take some time. You might have to listen to this like 50 times, or at least 10 times, or maybe 3, however fast. And read the book, read it multiple times, maybe listen to this every day. That's kind of what I had to do. And I'm still working on it. No one's perfect. But really take the time to start embodying this instead of just letting this be another video that was great, but our lives are still the same. So the last thing is getting stubborn and defensive invites a sledgehammer, but open and curious, a feather. So we can decide which way we want to get disciplined by God or the universe or other people. So be open and curious instead. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and feel free to let me know what you thought. Bye for now.